are of most of your addictions and how icky, they feel, how bad they feel to you. And then you go through that process, and then now you come to some acknowledgement of your fears.
Yep.
And once you start getting to that place, that you often feel exhausted, and you feel because you can't
you're
go
fighting.
Yeah, because you can't go back to your addictive processes
Yep.
or suppression.
Yep.
But you're also not yet going into your fear, and so you're now in this state where you're now starting to feel anxious about having to go through your fear, but you don't want to revert back to other behaviours that are all suppressing your fear.
Yep.
And this is layer upon layer that you need to go through in order to get to the stage where you feel your fear. And most people have not got to that state.
No.
Most people have heard us for 6 years haven't got to that state. They're still heavily in their addictions or denial of their addictions.
Yeah.
Usually that's the state that most people maintain for most of their life on earth.
But presumably when we get past that final barrier that you talked about, of like willfully trying to, without using any addictions, just trying to hold on.
Yes.
When we go over into now experiencing the fear that we've suppressed for so long.
Yes, and to do that, you have to have released all of these barriers to doing so.
All the stuff you put, the beliefs and the addictions and all of that stuff.
Correct.
But that process is presumably much more relieving.
Yes, you have extreme relief, actually. Your body goes through this relaxation process on that particular subject, whatever that subject is that you're releasing your fear about. And your whole life changes instantly, actually. All of your attractions change instantly. So once you really feel some of your fear, all of your attractions change instantly. The way in which you interact with every person around you on that particular subject is instantly changed. You see the world completely differently. You see how God's created it completely differently than what you thought. And what was guiding your every thought and every feeling before, and every action before, and every word before, now isn't guiding all of those things anymore. So you're far more free to allow for new experiences, new feelings, new thoughts that you were completely blocked to up until that point. So it's an incredibly freeing experience once you actually get to feeling some of the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds very attractive.
Well, it is very attractive, and that's the sad thing, is that most people don't realise how attractive it is. They don't realise how big the benefits are to actually getting to the point of feeling and experiencing your fears as they truly are. It is such a freeing experience that it changes your entire life, in fact. In fact, the only opposition to truth and love is fear in most cases. It's not grief, it's fear of grief. So once you don't have any fear at all, you will process all of your emotions pretty much instantly, and therefore you will have no resistance to love and truth inside of you. And that's a beautiful place to be. You can get to the point where you can process every single thing as it occurs and not even have a negative experience while you do so, once you've received enough of God's love to be in that condition. But while you've got fear, you will never get into the state of being in the condition of being at one with God, and therefore never get into the state where you'll actually have permanent pleasure.
Yep.
So there are so many positive benefits of going through your fear, so many, and we can't list them all, obviously.
No.
But there are just so many in terms of how it changes your life, how it changes the life of people around you, how it affects your impressions on the environment, how it affects your projections onto the environment, how it affects every single living creature around you, how it affects every single organism that's within your body. All of those organisms change in their operation once you release fear on certain subjects. So there are so many changes that occur with that one proper release, that once you've done it once or twice, the average person, they'll not resist it anywhere near as much as they have done in the past.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is getting a person to actually go through it at least once.
What's the famous quote? Some great leader somewhere in the history of the earth said, maybe it was Martin Luther King, I don't know, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. It sounds like that,
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times people have a large amount of fear about feeling fear.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call that fear of fear. I would call it a fear of feeling, the sensation of fear, which is really a fear of pain that people are expressing. And And I feel that if you have so much fear, you'll never, and you don't ever release it, you will never experience the joy and peace that comes from the release of fear. And your whole life will change in so many ways that most people, it's impossible for most people to even understand how many ways their life will change once they release fear.
Yeah.
Life changes in so many ways. There's so many almost uncountable ways that life changes that you become conscious of after you've gone through the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You also have faith generally after the experience. You have faith that processing emotion actually has a positive benefit. Until people go through their fear, they normally don't have that faith at all.
I feel it's difficult to have faith in even the goodness of God and the world around
Correct.
us when we live in fear.
Correct. It's impossible to have real faith with fear.
Yeah.
Fear, as you get more faith, fear, you automatically find that you have less fear. Or I should say that it often happens the opposite way around. As you get rid of fear, you then gain more faith through the process. If people would only make the start, and it's like a lot of the things with regard to divine truth, if they'd only make the start, then they'd realise the benefits. And most people have yet to make a true start when it comes to actually allowing themselves to experience the fear that's within them.
And it's where theory becomes practice and knowledge, isn't it?
Correct.
That start where real emotions begin, long suppressed emotions begin to flow.
Yes.
And not just dealing with addictions, but that is when truth comes to us, isn't it?
Yes. You will not know anything about emotions at all while you retain large amounts of fear in your soul that you don't experience. You must go through the experience of feeling your emotions before you'll start to understand a lot of things like desire and a lot of things like sadness and other emotions and addictions and all these other things you won't understand. So it would just be an intellectual presentation. It won't be things you understand until you go through the feeling, the actual feeling of your fear. And this is why I say to people that feeling your fear is one of the most important things that you can do to come from a condition of sin into a condition of perfection. And fear is an enemy to your perfection. And rather than seeing it as something you should fear, you need to see it as something that you need to embrace so that it's no longer the enemy that you make it. So that's why I gave some talks about fear as your friend. Fear tells you when you have false beliefs that are out of harmony with love. Fear tells you what you need to do inside of yourself. Fear is a friend in that regard, but it's a friend only if we allow its experience. If we hold on to its experience and suppress its experience, it becomes a terrible enemy to our well-being then. But fear has the potential of being our friend as long as we embrace the process. And it is, in fact, something that God helped us to, God created the potential of these emotions. God didn't create the emotion of fear, so I must point that out. The emotion of fear has only ever been created by humanity. God does not have the emotion of fear inside of God at all, and God does not engender fear inside of any one of God's creations. So there's no need to fear God, for example. God, though, created the potential through your free will for you to go into belief systems emotionally that are out of harmony with love and truth. And that means then that God created the potential for you to create fear. And fear is mankind's own creation.
Perhaps that's a good place to leave it, because our next question is going to be about how fear is created.
Yeah, that'd be good.